Distinguished participants, I'm pleased to welcome you all to this series of 3 webinars on disaster risk reduction, the role of geological survey organizations in understanding risk and informing risk reduction actions. The webinars have been convened by the World Community of Geological Surveys, which is a best practice community with the aim of promoting global dialogue relating to geosciences and addressing national and global geoscience issues. The World Community of Geological Surveys connects regional and national geological surveys in order to act as a communication hub for exchange of news and information on geoscience initiatives through digital newsletters and social media, and develop and implement workshops in science policy and technical thematic areas such as this webinar series on disaster risk reduction. WCOGS and its members previously organized a webinar on critical minerals in 2021. I am Sonia Talwar, Director with the Geological Survey of Canada, where I am based in the city of Vancouver, Canada, on the unceded and traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. In my professional role, I have the privilege of working with dedicated scientists and technologists to deliver our national research programming on natural hazards and risk geoscience. As part of this, I am Canada's representative to the Global Earthquake Model Foundation, where I am the Vice Chair of the Governing Board. The Geological Survey of Canada, or GSC, is Canada's national organization for geoscientific information and research. Our lead is our Director General, Dr. Danielle Labelle, who has been charting the GSC's strategic direction and operational successes for over a decade. Our work supports exploration and decision-making in mining and energy sectors, national sovereignty, and hazards risk management. For context on the GSC's role in disaster risk reduction in Canada, we undertake scientific studies on natural hazards and risk, providing knowledge products to inform federal policy and help our 10 provinces and 3 northern territories have access to hazard and risk information and knowledge. Our sister organization, the Canadian Hazards and Information Service, provides hazard monitoring and alerting for natural hazards, and amongst other roles, maintains the Canadian National Seismic Network. We've organized a 3-part webinar series over the next 3 weeks to focus on the sub-themes of disaster risk reduction, including science and technology, risk management goals, and today's focus, rich enablers. Parts 2 and 3 of the webinars will be hosted on February 13th and 20th, Greenwich Mean Time. Before we begin today's session, I want to extend my thanks to the organizing committee, which includes the Geological Survey of Canada, the Global Earthquake Model Foundation, GNS Science in New Zealand, Sage on Earth Consulting, and the American Geosciences Institute, who are managing the logistics of the webinars. I was pleased to be part of the organizing committee for this event as a platform for bringing together actors within civil protection, public safety, geological surveys, land use planning, emergency management, to a conversation about disaster risk reduction and risk reduction actions. As a community, the recent earthquake in Turkey and Syria is a stark reminder of the importance of the work by this community. The loss of life and devastation are widely felt. It is clear that many nations globally and communities locally are, to varying degrees, grappling with the stark challenges of assessing the trade-offs and consequences of actions that will enable our countries, cities, people, and infrastructure to be resilient in the face of natural hazards and their associated risks to lives and livelihood. The Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction priorities of understanding risk, strengthening risk governance, investing in risk reduction, and enhancing preparedness have anchored this work for many of the past number of years. Since 2015, Sendai has provided us with an overarching framework to work in a dedicated manner towards 2030 and the desired future we all seek for our collective resilience. We are nearing the midpoint of the 15-year Sendai Framework, a good checkpoint on how we are doing. Holding these webinars across the globe in various time zones is meant to help focus the discussions on the breadth of challenges, solutions, and approaches already underway. It is the organizing committee's hope that this foundation will spur healthy crossover, discussion, and cogent ways forward. The aim of the webinar series is fourfold. First, to share experience from around the world about the role of geological survey organizations in disaster risk reduction. Second, to learn about what is good practice, what's worked, where there have been pitfalls. Third, what tools and models are available. Fourth, to discuss key challenges and opportunities. This is the first webinar of the series. I encourage people to participate in the other sessions and to share the registration link for subsequent webinars with your networks. We are here to engage with each other. Questions will be taken and answered at the end of each panel session. Our agenda today includes 2 introductory talks and 2 panel sessions for this session on enablers to facilitate the role of geological survey organizations in disaster and climate risk management. The first panel will focus on national governance mechanisms. The second panel has a focus on case studies on the importance of good governance for understanding hazards and risk and the use of information for disaster risk reduction. My thanks to all those involved in organizing and to all those who have stepped up from this global community to contribute presentations and participate in panel sessions. Now to today's agenda. We have lined up introductory remarks from 2 speakers. First, Paulo Albrito, Director of the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction. Ms. Albrito has extensive experience in supporting disaster resilience and sustainable development policies and instruments in Africa, Europe, and Central Asia, including the development of policy guidance, cross-government strategy development, and high-level advocacy. Second, we will have opening remarks from Safar Sabhai, who will provide the overall context for the webinar series, including sharing the results of a survey of geological survey organizations to inform the content of this webinar series. Sahar has led the process and authorships of 3 practical guidelines for UNDRR on national disaster risk assessment, risk reduction strategy, and synergies between disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation policies. She's the founder of Sage on Earth Consulting that provides strategic services to public and private entities in this space. And now, Paulo Albrito of the UNDRR will share her remarks.